2, 1. All right. And it'll take a second or two. All right. Says we're live. Let's just make sure it pops up correctly.
It's coming.
Coming on slowly but surely here. 2, 1.
Yes.
All right. All right.
We are live.
We are indeed. Sweet. All right. So let's just let everyone start to filter in a little bit here. I'm going to rearrange my windows just a scotch so I can see the chat. And all right. So let's see. So how was your Christmas, Barry?
It was eventful. Obviously, I think COVID is kind of stopping people from enjoying their holidays, as you obviously know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But it was a good Christmas regardless.
Yeah,
For
that's
yourself.
good. That's good. Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly like you said. Someone in the household, my lady got COVID, unfortunately, so we were dealing with that and taking care of the baby who was, who had to be here, obviously, and then the 5-year-old, she had to stay with her dad for about 10 days, which was tough on my lady because it was right across Christmas, and that was making it hard. What's up, Robert the Wolfman? Good to see you, sir. And JP, what's going on? Good to see you as well. But yeah, it's Christmas. So we ended up having Christmas on Monday instead of on Christmas.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too bad, though. It was kind of nice. We got to keep the tree up a little bit longer than normal. And once the 5-year-old came back, she got to have like another Christmas. So that was nice. So it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, do you guys? I don't know if it's tradition in the US, but do you guys take your Christmas tree down really fast after Christmas?
I don't like to. I usually will leave it up through New Year's, but my girlfriend doesn't like to keep Christmas decorations up because it clutters her space.
Yeah, it's the exact same with my wife. Like, I don't mind it being up a little bit longer, but she got it down yesterday. She thinks it's best nice and tidy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's fair
because
enough.
there's snowmen and sleighs and stuff in the middle of her dinner table and on her kitchen island, and she's just like, I just want my stuff back. I don't.
Yeah, need the space.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'll be honest with you. I don't. This is the first time we're doing Hellevator Pitch on a Thursday, so I'm not sure. I would think most people are still kind of off from work right now, but I could be wrong. A lot of people may have gone back and are only going to be off for New Year's Eve and stuff like that. So I'm hoping we at least get enough people in here to do some voting for us and stuff like that.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that you're obviously this is the morning time. Is it 11 o'clock for you?
It's 12 where I am, but
12?
11 Pacific time. Yeah. But it's,
Yeah.
early afternoon Eastern. So everyone is, if they go to work and they don't have the entire time off from Christmas through New Year's, then they're probably at work right now. But yeah, here's Jordan stopping by. Evening all, we'll need to watch later. Okay. Movie Mike. Yeah, I think I said hi to you. Okay, we got 8 people on, so people are starting to filter in. So that's good. That's good. Did you get anything special that you appreciated for Christmas?
I don't know if you can see it, but I got an American Werewolf in London NECA figure from my wife.
Ah, okay.
Can't really see that, but
Yeah, is it above the masks on that thing there?
it's to the right of Ghostface.
Okay, yeah, it cuts off right at Ghostface on the camera.
Ah, right, okay. And this is a little
Oh,
head that
nice.
you get with it.
That's awesome. What a cool looking head.
Interchangeable. Oh, they're fantastic. I knew I was getting it. I asked her for either the American Werewolf in London NECA figure or the Thing figure,
Yeah.
the Kurt Russell figure, and I was like, right, give me one of those. I don't mind which one. So that was a surprise.
That's
Um,
nice.
Yeah, it was quite good. What about yourself? Did you get anything
I got
special?
a couple of games. I did my haul yesterday, but yeah, for Christmas it was just a couple things. I got myself some stuff for Black Friday, but the biggest thing, which I haven't connected yet, is my girl got me a nice arm and a Blue Yeti caster microphone. I'm not
All right.
I'm not sure, it's at least omnidirectional, which I know we can use for some of our podcasts and stuff, because this thing, just gets what's in front, really, not really what's behind as much. So it's the omnidirectional will help when more of us are here rather than a couple of us having to yell and stuff like that. So let's see. Well, let me at least give the welcome to the people that are here. Hey everyone, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird, and we are here to do episode number 3 of Hellevator Pitch. Quite obviously by the graphics above us right here. But what's nice is we got to welcome on someone that is, has been a friend of the channel for quite a while, and that is Barry from WOLFMAN'S GOT NARDS. Thank you very much for coming on, Barry.
Thanks for having me, Cecil. And again, I said this before, it's going to be a challenge for myself to try and speak English and for people to understand my version of English. So it's going to be good. And again, you've had 2 guys on before that have obviously wrote stories before. Not only have they wrote stories, they've made them into movies. And it's, as you know yourself, it's very hard to do. I've not done anything like that. I've written little stories growing up and even as an adult, but I've never taken it anywhere. So it'd be nice to kind of share my ideas with people and see what people think, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I didn't even kind of realize in scheduling my guests that like I was going to start off with 2 filmmakers and like make it seem like that's all that I was going to have on here, because I wanted to have on a lot of the people on YouTube, that I've interacted with throughout the years, that are very familiar with the horror genre, that enjoy the horror genre, that have something to say about the horror genre. And you are definitely one of those people. So I appreciate you coming on. And I don't like, the nice thing about this is that this is not a very judgy show. This is, everyone just kind of chills and has a good time. And that seems to work out. So again, I don't know how the audience numbers are going to affect the voting and stuff like that. We might have sort of limited voting, but it's a growing situation with the show, and I'm learning as I go with it as well. So, but it's still going to be fun nonetheless, because people do come back to these. I still have people watching the first 2 episodes and commenting regularly. So I think people will at the very least come back if they're not here right now to get involved with the voting. But nonetheless, so what this show is, for any of you that are joining for the first time, is Hellevator Pitch is predicated on the idea of the elevator pitch, okay? But it is strictly geared towards horror ideas, hence Hellevator Pitch. Now, if you don't know elevator pitch, the idea behind that is something where, it's this idea from Hollywood, or I don't even know if it originated in Hollywood, I'm guessing so, but where what happens if you get onto an elevator with a studio executive that actually has some sway that you recognize, and you have an idea but haven't been able to get access to someone. You have between like 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how many floors you have to go, to pitch your idea to this person and hopefully get some kind of deal going, or at least get a meeting, right? So that's what we try and do. Is we have 3 ideas throughout this entire show. They vary in length of time you get for pitches. The first pitch you get 3 minutes, the second pitch you get 4 minutes, and the third pitch you get 5 minutes. There are 3 different categories for each, for all the pitches, right? The first pitch this time is going to be holiday themed. It was going to be Christmas themed, but because of the delay, we opened it up to New Year's ideas as well, if either of us wanted to go that route. But holiday themed is going to be the first pitch. The second pitch is going to be audience's choice, as usual. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, start thinking of some ideas. Don't wait for that part of the show. If you want to throw out ideas during the audience pitch, start thinking of ideas. And then finally, our pre-prepared pitch for this episode is going to be a paranormal movie. That's the parameters we gave ourselves. So with Dave, we did slashers. With Vin, we did creature. And now with Barry, we're going to do paranormal. So, and I know Barry's preference might have been to do slasher, because that's what he, as we discussed beforehand, he kind of gravitates towards the most. But having just done that specifically with Dave, we just opted to do paranormal instead, because Barry's also a fan of paranormal movies, right?
I am, yeah. Paranormal, one of my favorite genres or subgenres within horror.
Do you have any in particular that jump out at you off the top of your head that you really enjoy?
It sounds very cliche, but I really enjoyed The Conjuring. It's one of the ones where it takes you back to the old 80s, 90s ghost paranormal movies that you didn't quite get after that, because you got the kind of Japanese rip-offs that came out in the US after that just weren't really that fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then when The Conjuring came out, it was just like a breath of fresh air, like just going back to the good old days of good old-fashioned ghost story horror movies where you don't have to see everything, and even though you do get a lot of jump scares, you don't get random jump scares. You get a build-up of tension with James Wan and the jump scares that he does. So The Conjuring is one of the movies that got me back into that subgenre of the ghost slash paranormal, because it was a dying subgenre at that point, and I felt like The Conjuring brought that back.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I do think, though, technically one kind of brought it back for me with Insidious. So like I got big into, I mean, I've been a fan of Wan before I even knew who he was, really, because I've always liked the Saw franchise. I really enjoyed Dead Silence when it originally came out, when a lot of people were shitting on it at the time for some reason. But then obviously he went on to do Insidious, and I thought that was great. And then I personally think he elevated it to an even higher point with The Conjuring, and I think he elevated it again with The Conjuring 2. I personally think The Conjuring 2 is a little bit better, but nonetheless, they're tremendous paranormal movies, and they definitely reinvigorated my love of them as well, because they'd all become kind of rote. In my opinion, along the way, just cliches of themselves over and over again, and he kind of made them scary again to me, and updated them to a more current audience. You might, I hate to make this comparison, but he kind of marvelized the horror genre a little bit, you know what I mean? Where he brought in, a lot of people that weren't necessarily, they'd kind of either faded away or weren't the biggest horror fans. And a lot of people now are getting back into it because of what he's done. So I don't know, it might not be an unfair comparison, but it might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, and I think obviously you've got the Conjuring cinematic universe, like the Marvel thing you're talking about, and it does get ridiculous with the Nun, etc. But there are some movies within that universe that are worthy of movies on their own, like Annabelle. Was it Annabelle Creation?
I thought the second two. I thought both 2 and 3 were worthwhile.
Yeah, they were pretty good. But again, The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, they just stood out as being. They even looked like these big, massive box office movies, and they weren't. They were $30-40 million budget, and that's what he can give you with that money. Just think if he had $200 million to do a horror movie. Obviously, when he does get $200 million, he makes Aquaman that makes over $1 billion. So he's gold. No matter how much money you give him, he will give you a successful movie.
Well, and that's probably why they took the risk with Malignant. Because that script would likely not have been made by any other, or not have been greenlit for any other director. Because, like that, with anyone else at the hand, that could have very easily been a full moon feature. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, try pitching that in an elevator for 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. All right. Well, bear with me because the end is the key here. But yeah. So. All right. Well, should we get into it? Should we do our first pitch? We have at least a double digits watching at this point. I don't know how much better we're gonna get than that at this point, but and I do apologize for that. We'll have to get you back on in the future down the line to get a Saturday show going. But hey, we're making do with what we got, right?
Exactly.
All right, so this is going to be the holiday-themed pitch. Now, generally what I do is we'll coin toss for the first one, the second pitch, the other person will go first, and then the third one will coin toss again for it. All right.
Perfect.
So I have my old Fable coin here that I really need to get cleaned at some point. It's got red and blue. Nothing to do with our political system. It's literally a fantasy coin. But I'm gonna let you call it. Okay. So when you hear and see me flip, go ahead and call it. In 3, 2, 1.
Blue.
Okay. Flipping it on. And it is red. Okay.
Red.
So I do I want to go first for this one or first for, I think inherently whoever goes second for the audience pitch gets more time to think of their pitch. So I'm going to go first for the holiday pitch.
Okay. Good
Strategic
idea.
here. Strategic. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to set the 3-minute timer and pop that bad boy up. Give it a little stop and play it whenever we're ready. All right, so I'm interested to get everyone's. All right, just a little preamble here. This is. I think I'm gonna go with the two ideas that I thought of ahead of time are going to be new ideas. I did have one old idea I was going to use for one of them, but ultimately I reviewed both of the ideas because I came up with these ahead of, our last session before we had canceled it. So I went back and looked at them again, and I kind of liked the new pitch a little bit better. So I'm going to end up going with that one for the pre-prepared. But this pitch has remained the one I was going to go with the whole time. And I originally was just jotting down ideas for Christmas horror movies. I was like, oh, there's this, there could be this, it could be this. And this was just literally one line. And I was like, that's worth exploring. So that being said, let's get into it here. All right. In 3, 2, 1, timer's on. All right. So this movie is just called Carolers. Now, this is about a group of people that gather every single year in this one, they change up the neighborhoods they go to, but these are all friends that have been doing this for a number of years, but they've noticed over a number of years that everyone is getting very mean. There's not nearly as much holiday spirit as they go around from house to house. And so this year when they gather, they gather to do it for about, 4 or 5 nights leading up to Christmas. And so the first couple nights, they just get their doors slammed in their face and people just being rude and just horrible. And so after one night, they're all hanging out and they all start drinking and they're all like, why do we deal with this? Why are people just so awful? We just want to spread holiday cheer. And basically one of them drunkenly suggests, we should just kill them. And like they all kind of just agree and like, yeah, we should do that because they're all really hammered and stuff. And so they decide to like turn it against these people. Now, from this point, the movie could go either very horror or it could go horror comedy. Let me just I'll show you what happens. But basically, the first couple times someone is rude, you could go if you're going the more serious horror route. You basically have all these people that while they're getting drunk, this is the time where you're learning about them and their special skills. And so the first time they get the door slammed in their face, the locksmith of the group steps up and is able to get them inside. And then you have them all have unique talents that assist with the murders and the cover up of these murders. And so they get better at it as they go along. Until finally what would happen is one of the carolers has this, he says, we should go to this house. I really want to go to this house. We should take care of this person. And it turns out it's his cop brother who he hates. And he doesn't tell the carolers. And so when they try and break in, it's them versus a very secure house and a cop that's able to defend himself who starts to pick them off. Obviously, that's the more serious horror route. The more horror comedy route is as soon as they try the first family to kill them for being completely rude. It'd be like an O'Doyle family, like where they all come outside and are just shitty to everyone trying to sing. And so they all decide to kill all the family, but it becomes just a comedy of errors a la Ready or Not or something along those lines where they're just really bad at trying to do this. And so it could go one of two ways, but simply carolers, I think whether you go the super regular horror way or the horror comedy way, it's going to end up being an entertaining piece of film. So I have 8 seconds left, but that's where I'm going to call it. So there we go. Carolers.
Perfect. Obviously, I had a few questions, but I didn't want to ask them. In fact, I still don't. How are you doing this? Because I still got a few questions that if you answer them, it may
sway people one way or the other. So that's that's what we've been doing is you can just go right into your pitch and then we can discuss them afterwards. And that's kind of our way to try and sway people while the voting's going on. So that's fine. We can do that. So you can ask me questions at that point. So that being said, are you ready to do yours?
Ready when you are. I've got my timer here as well.
All right. So in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so my pitch is called Holiday Hitcher or The Holiday Hitcher. So it's about a guy who goes home for the Christmas holidays to see his family. He's at college or university, and he hears on the radio that there's a hitcher or a male hitchhiker killing girls. So when he travels back home, it's all happening late at night. There's a bunch of hitchhikers trying to get a lift from him and other people, and he just drives past them. Most of them are male, just drives past them. But then he's calm about it. It's almost like he doesn't really care. He's just like, I'm getting out of here. But then he sees a girl hitchhiking, and us as the audience are thinking, okay, it's a female, we're okay. So he feels fine picking her up. She's got a large bag, and she puts it in the back seat of the car. But we don't mention the bag anymore. We see the bag, because in the back seat, has a little look at it, and it's done. So we've got our minds thinking as an audience. After he picks her up, it then cuts to a backstory leading up to where he picks her up, but it's her backstory. So it shows you her hearing on the radio that there's a male hitchhiker killing people. And you're like, okay, that's strange. So she doesn't look too worried. So as an audience, again, we're like, why is she not worried? It's almost like she knew. It's almost as if she was that hitchhiker. And the radio got it wrong. So in our minds, are we thinking, is it a female hitchhiker? But it's saying it's a male hitchhiker. That's why she's calm. We don't know yet. So then it cuts back to our time when he's already picked her up. And at this point, it's like a cat and mouse chat. Not a cat and mouse chase, but a cat and mouse chat, both trying to suss each other out. The audience at this point, we don't have a clue who the killer is. We just go by what they're saying and what they're talking about. With her answers, when he asks her questions, she sounds suspicious to the audience, but she starts to get a little bit of fear in her eyes as well. So we're thinking that the radio got it wrong. It could be a girl hitchhiker. But the movie plays out as if he is also fearing for his life, wondering what's in that bag. That's what's always in his mind. What's in that bag? We do eventually get a M. Night Shyamalan style reveal where, in actual fact, and the most obvious thing was he was the actual killer all along. What he done was he was the hitchhiker initially, which the radio got it right. It was a male hitchhiker. He picked up a girl and he was killing girls, and she's in the trunk of the car all along, but the girl in the car doesn't know that. So it's a character and a dialogue driven movie, and it's filled with suspense just from their chats to each other. So we're trying to guess, is she the killer or is he the killer? It seems too obvious that he's the killer, but then we're getting obvious nods that she's the killer as well. So we just don't know until the very end when it is revealed that the most obvious answer was right in front of us all along. And that's me done.
All right. Cool. All right. So let me stop the timer here. And so, okay, cool. So that is Holiday Hitcher. So, guys, I'm going to start the voting right now, and we're going to be discussing it, and you guys can, have your votes swayed or not. So, pitch number 1, holiday theme.
Hopefully you guys understood what I said.
I did. I don't see why people wouldn't. Okay, so let's do carolers.
That is hard when you've got that 3 minutes.
Yeah, yep, exactly. You got to really
Trying to squeeze it in.
get it all in there, exactly. And then holiday hitcher. All right. The poll is out there, so you guys do the voting. So the interesting thing is your idea. We obviously, as a show, we go to a lot of film festivals and stuff, and we always watch the shorts. And a couple of years in a row now, there have been 2 different shorts where there's 2 people like on a blind date, and they're both like off, but you think one of them is just off because the other, but you're not necessarily sure which is which. And like they just talk about weird shit, and you think that, they end up going to one of their houses after the meal, and you're like, okay, she's gonna try and kill him. and then it switches and he tries to kill her, but they both end up being serial killers. They're seeking out their next victim and end up going after each other. And I thought it was going to kind of go down that route, maybe. I wasn't sure. Then I also wasn't sure if she put in the bag in the car and it was the male hitchhiker's body. So like she's even worse than the hitchhiker the radio was talking about, kind of thing. I was like, oh, that could be interesting. But what were your questions about mine?
When you were talking about the carols going around the houses, I couldn't picture what age they would be. What if you got a specific, are they all different ages, like teenagers? Kids,
well,
adults?
I mean, I was thinking mostly, late 20s, 30s sort of situation where they're a bit more annoyed with life. They wouldn't. I'm sure if they were younger, they probably wouldn't be as angry with how people are acting towards them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
because obviously, it changes the mood of a movie depending on the age of the people in it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things that I really liked about your story was it wasn't just them going around killing people. You have to have some sort of connection when you're going around random doors. And the one for me, when you said that he was related to is it the cop you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the idea that someone's related to them, so they've got an inside story themselves that's connecting them to not just random people. I like that aspect. I didn't want to say it at the time, just in case people voted for yours, but I liked that idea.
Yeah, no, and I was almost thinking it could be almost like an adult Home Alone, right? If they're trying to break into a cop's house, but he's ready. He's like an over-prepared, officer that's just waiting for this kind of thing to happen, and it just starts taking him out again. It could be fun. It could be serious. I would lean towards making it a more fun idea. But yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm totally alone on that. Currently, Carolers is at 67%. So we've got 12 votes in. We got 14 people watching. That's basically everyone. But we'll give it another minute or two just in case. Let's see what the audience... Guys, go ahead and give your thoughts in the comments. Love to know everyone's thoughts. Let's see. Before we get into some of their thoughts, Sean Sheridan put in not exactly a horror idea, but I always had an idea about a big remake where the kid grows up, gets involved with the wrong people and goes to jail, kind of mixed bag, and let's go to prison. Basically a darker version of Big. Oh, okay. I got it. Mm-hmm. Two good pitches from you both so far. Wolfman has my vote. Okay, cool. Puts pressure on for sure. Movie Mike. I picture Carolers having the tone of the first Gremlins movie, dark but with comedic moments. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Again, along the lines of Ready or Not, where they're kind of bumbling imbeciles. Some of them are bumbling imbeciles, Jordan's got to put his son to sleep now. We'll watch later. Hopefully not too much later. Thank you for stopping by, Jordan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. When I'm talking about the mood of my movie, I always pictured that when I was writing the story and things. I always pictured that. Have you ever seen the movie Riding the Bullet with David Arquette?
No, I haven't.
No, it's a Stephen King
movie. Oh, Riding the Bullet. Yeah, you know what? Isn't that the roller coaster one?
Yeah, I think the travel to.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, but yeah, no, is David Arquette in that?
He's the hitchhiker.
Yeah,
I've not seen it for years.
I really like that movie. Yeah,
but that's the kind of tone I was looking for. But with my idea, when you see the hitchhiker and the driver, you don't actually see them throughout the movie. You do see them, but they're always obscured with the mirrors, the shadows, the seats, so you don't get a full look at either of them until the end of the movie. But what you said about the two of them ending up being a killer was my initial idea, having both of them be the killer.
Yeah.
But I thought that was, again, too cliche to the point where people would think we're going to guess that, because I've given teases for both of them, so I decided just to keep it the one of them, because I didn't want to make it too obvious. But that was initially my first idea for that.
I swear there's got to be an interesting twist too where neither of them are the killer. Like where they both just scare themselves to the point where they almost murder each other because they think the other is the killer, but neither are. Like that, there has to be like just two super paranoid people. There might be something fun there too, but
yeah, that's a good idea.
That's cool. Well, see, there you go. So I think we can call it. It's 13 votes. Carolers with 69%, Holiday Hitcher with 31. So that's I think that's as close as we're gonna get there. So I'll take the point on that one.
Well done.
Thank you very much. No, I liked yours though. Yours always. I do tend to like those slow burn, uncomfortable. Like when you first started talking, I was like, if it's like that scene in the Spider-Man movie where Vulture is like trying to find out about Spider-Man with him and the girlfriend in the back, that sort of cagey discussion that reveals things as you go along, that'd be really cool. Okay. So, this is the audience. Oh, shoot. I never switched this over. Darn it. I always do that. So, yeah. Pitch one was holiday themed. So that was that. I'm a little late to switch it over, but now I'm switching it to pitch number 2, which is audience's choice. So let's get some audience ideas in the chat. JP, my first idea is AI gone wrong type horror movie. That's not bad out the gate. Let's see what else people come up with. AI gone wrong. That's actually interesting because I just watched Ron's Gone Wrong like 2 days ago. Not probably the kind of AI gone wrong he's thinking of. It's a little more kids, but it was fun nonetheless. Did you ever watch? Did you watch the Mitchells versus the Machines that came out this year?
I didn't. No. Didn't see it.
That's a great family movie on Netflix that has AI gone wrong in it as well. It's by Lord and Miller, the guys that did the Lego movie, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I heard of it. I just not wanted to watch it.
Fair enough. Mimi says slasher movie set in medieval time period. Okay, that's right out there.
Army of Darkness style.
Yeah. I know that's pretty much where my medieval references go to. Medieval slasher movie. All right. What else we got? A vampire horror, simple and to the point. All right. So Sean Sheridan says a vampire horror. JP, Mimi, and Sean Sheridan have given ideas. Oh, I can end this poll. So any other ideas? Those are 3 pretty good broad ones. Do you have any you'd lean towards amongst those?
No, to be honest, no. Whatever one gets chosen, then I don't know.
Let's see. Well, you know what? Let's do a poll. Audience's choice. Which should we do? Okay. Medieval slasher. Did I spell medieval wrong? I always do that. Okay. Vampire horror. Or AI gone wrong. All right, guys. Make your vote for what we should do. Do we want, while they vote on that, do we want to do the pre-prepared or just wait a couple minutes while they vote on that?
I don't know. What do you think?
We can wait a couple minutes to see.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a big rush. I'm not in a huge rush.
No rush.
Hey, Dave McRae in the chat. What's going on, good sir?
Hey, Dave.
And Julian Salgado. What's going on? Buddy Cop Leprechaun movie. Oh, a little late. Oh. The Nog, says Robert. Basically the stuff, but with eggnog. A fast food voice that infects people over the speaker as they come through the drive-thru. I mean, leave it to Dave McRae to come up with a voice-related horror movie idea. But what does that mean? Like, it infects them, so everyone that comes up to the drive-thru from then on starts to sound like this. Yes, can I help you? Hey, Barry, hey, welcome to Hellevator Pitch. Is that not? It doesn't work that well, does it?
No. You're not a voice actor.
Let's see. Okay, so AI Gone Wrong is in the lead with 57%. We got 7 votes. We can get a few more votes before we select, but right now AI Gone Wrong is in the lead. And AI Gone Wrong. There was another one. What was that one called that got huge play a couple of years ago? With, is it Oscar Isaac was in it? You know which one I'm talking about?
Ex Machina.
Yeah, Ex Machina. That was a great one.
Mm-hmm. I've not seen that, but yeah, it looks good.
You've not seen that either? Dang, Barry.
No, I know. I don't know what's happened.
You're focusing on all that Halloween content too much. You gotta watch some stuff. Is that working? I mean, how's that going? Is your channel growing pretty well through that?
It has, yeah. I mean, I had a target for the year for getting 25,000 subscribers, and I passed 26,000 subscribers a few weeks ago. So
Nice. Yeah.
I'm 1,000 more than I thought I would get. So yeah, it's kind of exceeded the target.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Medieval sounds cool, but vampires are cooler, says Sky. Dave said, well, that's up to you, naturally. I just set the premise. Okay, fair enough. So however we want to interpret the fast food voice that infects people. It looks like AI Gone Wrong is still holding at 42% amongst 12 votes. So we'll give it about another minute, and then we'll make our determination. Maybe when you go through the drive-thru, it grants you 3 wishes. When you get to the window to accept your food, it's something sinister they give you. Or it gives you 3 wishes, but if you get to the window, but you don't offer to pay for the person behind you's meal, none of the wishes come true. It's a test of Medieval Slasher has overtaken AI Gone Wrong. Medieval
I just
Slasher.
started to get an idea there. I started to get an AI idea there. Why?
I know. Well, hey, let's sway the votes. JP, AI Gone Wrong idea 2. When I think of evil AI, I'm thinking of the little girl from Resident Evil, not Terminator. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, AI Gone Wrong does seem to get relegated to cyborg type situation. There's not that many people that go with the 2001 situation compared to the cyborg situation. Let's see. Medieval Slasher is still holding it. So I think that's going to win. I think we should probably go ahead and call it with Medieval Slasher, but damn, that's going to be tough. So what usually happens, I got to make extra YouTube accounts, says JP. Imagine if they made a good Resident Evil movie. I know, Julian. I know. This Welcome to Raccoon City could have been that, but they fucked up trying to cram 2 games into one movie and weird stuff about weird character development, and I don't know, not great. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't see it. I was going to watch it because I'd done a top 10 horror movies of 2021, and I thought maybe it would have a chance to get into it, but then I just read so many bad reviews about it. I thought there's no point. I'm just going to call it quits for the year and maybe watch it eventually. I will watch it. It does look good. I mean, I'm a fan of the old PlayStation 1 Resident Evil games. You know, Resident Evil 1 and 2. I loved those games. Scared the life out of me when I was a kid, but I absolutely loved them. And
I mean, it's literally doing those 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what makes me want to see it, because some of the scenes that I saw in the trailer, I thought, wow, that reminds me of the PS1 game. But is it just fan service with no context whatsoever?
Yeah, they just do weird things. They make weird choices that just lessen the impact than it could have had. Or you have to listen to a lecture about how too much fast food isn't good for you. Terrible. No, I can't do it. All right. AI Gone Wrong. iRobot springs to mind. Okay. Yeah. It looks like with 16 votes, Medieval Slasher is going to take it with 44%. So Medieval Slasher is what we're going to give ourselves 5 minutes to think of an idea.
Not 4? Is it 5 minutes?
It's a 5-minute thinking of 4-minute pitch. Yeah,
right,
so we get 5 minutes to think of the 4-minute pitch. Black Metal Barbarian, I really like this idea for your channel. This whole thing. Thank you. I mean, the Hellevator Pitch, I appreciate that if that's what you mean. Unless he's like typing out his idea now. Let's see, Movie Mike. You would think the depth of the source material, they could actually manage a good Resident Evil flick. It shouldn't be that hard. JP, boo. AI didn't win. But I agree. I think Resident Evil 1, though, is more than enough of a game to make a single movie out of. I think it was a mistake trying to cram 2 into it. But that is a discussion for another day. So I'm going to get the timer ready to go. And I actually have... Well, I had... Oh, no, I do have. I have a 5-minute royalty-free Kevin MacLeod ghost story song I'm going to be listening to. I don't know if you want to put on a bit of music to set your mood while you think, but you certainly can. I don't know if Robert's still in the chat to talk to you guys, but Dave, if you're still in the chat and you're willing to stay for about 5 minutes to talk to people, I'd greatly appreciate it. But guys, otherwise, we gotta take 5 minutes to think of an idea here. Julian says, yes, Hellevator is a badass idea. Love the fact that you have other horror tubers on too. Cool, yeah. Didn't want to just do, I mean, it was never the plan to just do filmmakers, although it ended up starting off that way. But I'm enjoying having Barry on. He's got good ideas and good interactions, so what the hell? That's all you can ask for as a host, right? Let's see. Second one, Julian. Okay, and let's see. AI gone wrong. Child's Play 2019. Hindsight. Yeah, should have named him something else. Okay. Yep, I'm still here. Okay, Robert, we're going to do the 5 minutes of thinking. So, guys, Robert is going to be your entertainer in the chat for just a couple minutes here. Let me get this timer a-going. And 3, 2, 1, start. You're thinking. Okay. And starting the music. Again, Kevin MacLeod. It is MACLEOD. Royalty-free music, Kevin MacLeod. Incompetech is his website. Okay, medieval slasher. Yeah, almost time.
I'm finished.
All right. All done. So, you're going to win this one because I am not confident in this idea at
I
all.
don't think so.
That was way harder than I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest
Yes.
with you. The last two audience ones, I was able to come up with something, and AI would have been like medieval slasher was hard. I'll be honest. Okay. So let's see. Headhunter was fantastic. I'll be honest, there was a little bit of Headhunter in my idea. So let's see. All right, let's see what they had to say. Oh, Julian says Barry is the fucking man. Of course, yeah. I wouldn't have had him on. Let's see. Okay. Yep, I'm still here. Third that. This should be a challenge. I'm trying to come up with medieval horror, but it all ends up being King Arthur versus zombies or something. Good movie, Mike. Good one. Let's see. King Arthur and Merlin fight zombies would be a fun flick, says Robert. Let's see. Christmas was laid back. Okay. Not really medieval horror. In general, Army of Darkness is a comedy, really, but I still consider it horror comedy. Let's see. So yeah, there's a difference between medieval horror and fantasy horror, I think. But, I mean, there's definitely some crossover there, I suppose. Let's see. You could also go the dragon route with medieval horror, but Cecil just did a dragon story last time. I know, I wanted to go dragon so hard again. I love dragon stuff, but no, I couldn't do it. A group of bounty hunters looking for a killer that uses magic like a necromancer. Okay. If someone had no idea what this show was and they just tuned in now, it would look like you're either just had a huge fight and are decompressing or don't realize they're live. Fair point, Dave. Fair point. And especially if they don't check the comments, right? That wouldn't go great. Season of the Witch Nick Cage movie. Yeah, I would consider that medieval horror. Okay. So, that being said, I get to go second. So, Barry, are you ready?
Yep, I am ready.
All right, so let me get the correct timer up here.
4 minutes, is it?
4 minutes, yes, sir.
I won't need 4 minutes.
I know, I don't think I will either. I need about 4 sentences. Okay, so, but here we go. And if you end early, it's fine. It's happened before. Vince, I think, ended pretty early on a couple of them. So, all right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so my medieval story is called The Sword in the Basement, kind of a play on The Sword in the Stone. So this one's set in 2022, but bear with me because there is medieval moments in it. So a man finds an ancient sword in his basement in 2022, and it's sort of like stuck in the basement ground, and he has to pull it out again, similar to Sword in the Stone. He eventually gets it out, and he likes the look of this sword, so what he decides to do is hang it up on his wall as like an ornament, because it does look really nice and really old. As soon as he does that, though, he starts to dream of the medieval times in England, in the UK, and the dreams feel so realistic, sort of like A Nightmare on Elm Street. And he kills people in the dream with this sword. He kills other soldiers, and he is a soldier in England back in the medieval times. But when he wakes up from these dreams, when he has them, more and more blood you find on the sword as he wakes up. So wake up in the morning, there's a little bit of blood on it. He thinks it's maybe just a stain that he missed before, cleans it off, goes to bed, wakes up again the next morning after he's had one of these vivid dreams, and more blood appears each time. And he's starting to think, what is happening? Is he going about killing people during 2022, or something happening in the medieval world within the dream? So he wakes up every morning, same thing happens, and he wonders if there's something wrong. So we go back and forward between 2022 and the world of the medieval times, and it's similar to Highlander, if you've seen Highlander from 1986. Mm-hmm. So eventually the dream world and the real world come together. Not just the blood comes through now, enemies are coming through from the medieval world into 2022. So these guys are coming in, sort of like the Highlander, and they're coming fighting him in 2022. But he needs this sword. The only way he can defeat these people who are coming through from the medieval times is with this sword, because it's the only thing that has the power to kill them and put them back into the medieval times. So throughout the movie, we're going to have fight scenes with guys coming in and out of the real world. And we're going to have moments where he loses the sword. One, because he doesn't really want it anymore, doesn't realise the power that it has. Then we'll have times where he's trying to find the sword again because he finds answers as to how he's going to defeat these people that are coming through from a medieval time. So it's a bit of finding the sword, losing the sword, finding the sword, killing the medieval warriors, soldiers that are coming through, and just trying to defeat the bad guys to basically stop the curse. Once he's killed everyone and destroys the sword the way it should be, then that's when it ends and he defeats the evil of the medieval. So when I think about it, it is like Highlander meets A Nightmare on Elm Street. So that's me done.
Okay. All right. Highlander meets A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's interesting enough. Okay. All right. Now, I'm definitely glad I went second, because I had a completely different idea that occurred to me while you were talking that I'm going to go with instead. So, what's up, Dice? Good to see you. Dice rolling in the chat. And all right, so I'm not going to stall to give myself any more time. Literally, I had a few sentences written down. Now I have 3 words written down. So this is going to be an interesting winging it sort of situation, but let's do this. So 3, 2, 1, go. So this one's going to be titled The Serpent Skin. Okay, so basically we have this village that is kind of the, redheaded stepchild of all of these, fairly close proximity medieval villages where they're constantly hit by raiders and people that are coming in, just treating them like shit, taking what they shouldn't be taking and things like that. And they're just kind of stepped on because they don't have any warriors to step up and protect the village. But there's a story of this sort of fabled yet cursed armor called the Serpent Skin, where this village has tales of this old warrior that used to protect the village but disappeared one day, and he would show up when needed in the serpent skin, which was basically this armor made, as the tales tell, from a giant serpent that he once slayed and gained the power of in doing so. And so anytime he would enter the battlefield, it would almost be like a Sauron situation, where he would just plow through people using the power of the serpent skin. He'd have like the fangs kind of hanging right over the eyes, and his eyes would glow red underneath and stuff like that. But it disappeared. So one villager would happen across, would go searching for and find this in the first act, right? And go, and the first time it's raided, he would decimate all of the people. Like, he dons the serpent skin and he kind of grows and becomes this huge beastly warrior by donning the armor and just plows through the raiders. But afterwards, he's like blood mad, and he just starts to, I guess a better way to go is it finishes and then he takes off the armor and is back to normal, but the armor starts to call to him, and he starts to don it even when they're not being attacked. And every time he does, the blood rage comes back, and he ends up, killing someone in the village, kind of discreetly, but still super brutally. And then takes off the armor and, just tries to kind of hide it. So the armor makes him kind of the village slasher, where the serpent skin was cursed. And that's what happened the first time around, which is why the owner of the skin buried it and hid it away, but then died. I'd have to think of a reason as to why he died. Whether it was a curse for getting rid of the serpent skin. He then died afterwards, but now this guy has found it and is going through the same ordeal. So he has to either sacrifice himself and hide it away again, or let it continue its bloodthirst on a regular basis. So I think that's pretty much as far as I can go with that idea. So the serpent skin is what I would say. So we both stopped about a minute early on that. So
yeah, we did.
All right, so let's see what everyone says. Let me do a poll here. So, pitch number 2, medieval. Let me spell it wrong again. Okay, and yours was the sword in the basement?
The sword in the basement, yeah.
Okay. Mine is the serpent's skin. All right, guys, let us know your thoughts on in the poll. So I got to be honest, I didn't hear the middle part of yours because my idea was formulating in my head. So bad host moment there. Bad host moment there. But I did like the sort of time travel aspect to it. I thought that was an interesting wrinkle to have for a horror movie. And but yeah, I'm interested to see what other people thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can. Medieval is not my thing. Like, the only medieval movie I like is Army of Darkness, I think. So it is hard to elaborate on something that you're not really clued up on as much. When I'm thinking on medieval, I'm thinking Braveheart. I'm thinking Highlander. I'm not thinking horror. So it is hard to try and twist some sort of medieval story into something horror, but something that's interesting as well. So I thought, you know what, you can do these kind of Highlander style, put a bit of A Nightmare on Elm Street in it, and hope for the best. But yeah,
you are in the lead right now with 9 votes, 67% for the sword in the basement. I think people can tell that mine was whipped together a little bit, but it's I know, yeah, it's true. But yeah, that's the fun of the show, though, right? So
yeah.
Guys, what are your actual thoughts? Imagine if the sword and the armor came together. Ooh, that would be a bad news situation. Again, when I was trying to think of mine, I was just like, well, slasher is usually something happens to someone that turns them into a murderer, right? A serial murderer. And so I was like, well, okay, how do I do that? And what does that look like? What would be iconic? And I just think, the serpent's armor, you could make that shit look really fucking cool. Almost not necessarily taking maybe a couple of cues from the armor in Conan of the bad guy, right? James Earl Jones's snake sort of visage. I thought that would be, you could do something a little more subtle than that, but still have it really be cool and have, I don't know, just a striking image. I've always liked that idea from Lord of the Rings where Sauron's out on the battlefield just wrecking people with his giant sword and shit like that. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have something like that, but apparently people are thinking your idea is a little bit better, which is fine. That definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of the guys in the chat have the same idea as myself, but like having the big bad guy coming through from the medieval times to 2022, and I kept picturing I can't remember his name now, the bad guy in Highlander, Kurgan.
Oh, the Kurgan,
yeah. Who plays him again? Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just imagine Clancy Brown coming through, and it's just all I could think of when in the spur of the moment. Medieval, so someone as big as him coming through, and you're this little guy who has a sword that's probably the same size as you, and you just don't know what you're doing, and you're good in the dream world, but when it comes to the real world, you're having to learn for yourself and defend yourself in the real world. So if you die in this real world, you're going to die in real life. So it's kind of high stakes when it's 2022, whereas in the dream world, in the medieval times, when it's having a dream, it can do almost anything. So nothing's at stake. So it's high stakes to low stakes to high stakes.
I mean, forgive me for asking, but what's the more slasher aspect of it then? When he comes through, or
that's a bit I forgot about.
Oh, okay. So it's medieval slasher, but we left the slasher part out.
Yeah, to be honest, when I was listening to your story as well, I was saying to myself, you're not putting any slasher in this. But then I said to myself, I didn't either. But then you did start mentioning the slasher aspects. But yeah, there's no slasher aspects other than the fact that there's people getting slashed with a sword.
Yeah, it took me a bit to get there. I was like, I'm gonna have to tie this into slasher pretty soon because I was like, oh shit, I'm taking a while for the setup. But yeah, no, it's That's where, okay, so we'll see if that sways. You're still in the lead with 11 votes. You got 55% versus 45%. We got 17 people watching, so maybe a couple of more votes come in. Movie Mike says they're both strong ideas. It's a really hard topic, which is probably why why it's not done as much. Yeah, that's true. There's definitely not a lot of medieval slasher. I mean, would you consider The Witch a medieval movie?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking of. And believe it or not, where I went was Outlander. Have you ever watched Outlander with Jim Caviezel, the creature movie?
No, I haven't, no.
So that's interesting. He plays a space bounty hunter that is carrying a creature that he has, that he's to take back as a prisoner to his planet, crash lands on Earth during medieval times, during Viking times, and the creature during the crash gets loose and starts to, kill off this village, and he goes and has to use their sort of tools and swords in order to stop the creature. I was like, it's such a dope creature movie, but I was like, okay, how do I use that sort of setting, but as a slasher? So that's as close as I could get.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of The Witch when they said medieval, but The Witch is even less slasher than my idea. It's more of a kind of paranormal, kind of witchcraft style witch movie, so it was kind of hard to incorporate that sort of medieval into a slasher movie.
Yeah. As far as time period, though, goes, it works.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you know what? I think we're going to, we've got 11 votes, and hey, Dead Michael's in the chat. What's going on? So they've had 6 minutes. We did 5 minutes on the first one, so that is going to go point to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Let me put that point on the board. Okay. Pardon me. So that takes us to pitch the third, which is our pre-prepared pitch. And in this case, it's a pre-prepared paranormal pitch. Wow. That's a lot of alliteration.
Peepees.
That's a lot of pee-pee. Okay, so yes, again, as we explained at the beginning, Barry would have preferred slasher, but hey, look, you got to do a slasher movie after all anyway, even though you kind of didn't do the slasher part. Yeah. But yes, so instead of doing slasher like we did with Dave McRae, we're doing paranormal. Let me end this poll. All right. Now, we are going to do a coin flip once again to see who gets to choose who goes first. And let me put this over here. Oh, God. I hope I don't have to call an audible between my ideas again. All right. I don't know if I'm swinging for the fences on this one or not. I feel like people will like the idea, but I don't know ultimately if it's going to be strong enough. So this time I will call it, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
All right. Sean says, being a Freddy fanatic, I like the dream reality mix of your idea. So there you go. All right. So here we go. And I will say blue. It is blue. All right. So,
what are you choosing?
Yeah, I'll go second this time.
You go second?
I'll go second.
Okay.
All right, so you have 5 full minutes on this one.
It's weird because even though I like paranormal and ghost, when it came to trying to think of something, I was like, do you know what? I'm lost, because a lot of paranormal and ghost stories are very similar. Mm-hmm. So it's trying to break the mold, which is hard to do. So
you know what? I had trouble with not veering into demonic territory, because I do feel like demonic stories, they're very close to paranormal and there can be intermixing, but when you, like, if it's purely demonic and no ghosts or something like that, I think it veers out of paranormal area and strictly more into religious and demonic area. So that was my thinking on it. All right. So that being said, let me get the 5-minute timer ready to go, ready to blow once again, this volcano timer. And are you ready, sir?
Ready when you are.
All right. So in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so my ghost slash paranormal film is called The Landlord, and we've got a family. We've got a husband, a wife, and a son that we see at the start of the movie. They're renting a home in an apartment building. Um, they don't have a lot of money, but it's cheap and it's going cheap, and we'll find out why it's cheap later on. So we've got the mother, the father, and son, and then you've got the landlord as well. Those are the main characters that we've got in this little movie. The parents do act suspicious at the very beginning with the landlord who's renting the apartment out to them. The landlord lives in the building as well. He lives down the bottom floor, whereas the parents live on the top floor. But we find more about the building as the story progresses, as the story plays out. We also find out that it's haunted, but we don't see the ghost yet. But it doesn't haunt the parents in the house, it haunts the landlord. And that's why he's trying to give it away cheap. We also find out there was a brutal, unsolved murder in the building just a few years prior. Again, nobody really wants to rent there because it has a history. So it really is only the landlord, the new family that have moved in, and a couple of others that are spread about. We only focus, though, on the new family and the landlord. So as we're watching the family, figuring out why they're so suspicious, watching the landlord being haunted by this ghost, we can automatically assume that the ghost is of the person who was murdered in the apartment building a couple of years earlier. So the parents then start to try and piece together the crime, and the son is helping them as well, but we don't get a lot of interaction there. As they're trying to piece it together, the landlord is also becoming more suspicious as well, because he seems to be the guilty party, and it seems like the parents know that the landlord is the guilty person, so they're trying to find out for definite if he's the killer. But we don't know why these parents are so interested in it. Do we think they're interested in it because they just want to live there cheap, or is there a reason? Are they related to the person that was murdered a couple of years ago? So again, we don't find that out straight away. We have to piece it together ourselves with the audience. We are the audience, and with the cast members. Now, let me just get my point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the story progresses, we find out that yes, it is a lot more personal to this family than we initially thought. We find out that the person that was murdered was in fact their son. And the son, although he's in the movie and he's with the parents, it's similar to The Sixth Sense, where he's not really interacting with the parents, he's just there, but the parents get a feeling that they need to go there because they've got a feeling that this is where they need to find out what happened. They know their son was murdered in this building, but they don't tell the landlord that they are the parents of the son that was killed. But the son is there, and we always see the son. But then it cuts back to the beginning of the movie when the son was with the parents moving into the apartment building. But what we see the son is already at the apartment door waiting for the parents. But as the audience, we automatically assume that the son came with the parents, but he didn't. He was already dead. So the parents are there trying to figure out who killed their son, and they're leaning towards the landlord because the landlord is the one that's getting haunted by this boy who was murdered by the landlord. But once the parents find out that it was the landlord that killed them, then they take it upon themselves to take action because it is unsolved and there's no way that they can pin the murder on the landlord. It's only the son who's dead that can speak and say that he done it. But as we find out that he's the killer and they're trying to find the landlord and kill him, the closer that the parents get to this landlord and solving the murder, the more they see the son. So it gives them more of a spur on to try and solve this case so that they can finally see their son for one last time before he can move on, because he's stuck in limbo just now. And the only way for him to rest easy is if they can solve the murder and kill the landlord. And that's it, all done.
All right. And what did you call that one again?
That one's called The Landlord.
Just The Landlord, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Alrighty then. So that is The Landlord, you guys. And let me stop the timer and get ready to restart it for myself. In. Whew. All right. In 3, 2, 1, go. So mine is called In His Image, and what this is about is it's about a young woman that is moving into a new city, and she goes to this B&B that's been set up. It's this beautiful like 4-story B&B that this lady is running, and the young woman arrives and is introduced introduces herself to the lady, who shows her around, says she's there for a room, and shows her to her room, and meets a couple of other tenants along the way. There's a few people staying there, and there's something a little off about the lady, but the young woman doesn't really pay it much mind. And while she's there, weird stuff starts to happen. She starts to have weird paranormal experiences. Items are moved around, and weird noises she hears at night and eventually during the day. And at times she keeps catching a glimpse of this little boy that's running around, and he never is around long enough to actually say anything to, and she'll call out for him at times, but he doesn't respond, just runs off. And so but then other tenants start dying and disappearing, really. But the girl finds out that they're actually getting killed, and it's being covered up by the lady. And eventually she finds out through research of her own about this place, about this lady, that there have always been weird disappearances at this particular B&B, but nothing's ever been able to be proved about it. And there's weirder personal details about the lady, who apparently once had a family, a husband and a son. But the husband died, and then the son died. And so she was obviously grief-stricken completely. But when the young woman confronts her about it eventually, down the line in the movie, she basically says, "What happened? What is going on? And who is this little boy I see running around?" And the lady starts to change and become a little bit creepier and be like, "Oh, that's my son. You've been seeing my son." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh no, he's still here. He runs around. Don't worry about all that stuff you might have read. It's fine." And so the girl is getting freaked out, but she's still intrigued. And so she actually, stays up one night and sees the little boy go into another tenant's room, and looks through the crack and sees the little boy get closer to the bed and basically turn into something else, like this weird, like it kind of opens up and into a weird spectral maw, and it just like eats the other tenant, and like all like bloody, gory, but consumes all of them. And the girl freaks out and tries to run out, but the lady stops her, slams the door shut, and throws the locks on, and has like this weird security system pre-set up, shutting all the doors and windows. She's like, "I'm sorry, I can't let you go. I have to be able to, keep my son happy." And the woman's like, "What are you talking about? That's not your son. Have you seen?" And so basically at this point, we'd have the old lady tell the backstory of how, after her husband and her son had both died, her grief was strong enough that basically, the universe operates on energy, and strong emotions are strong enough to open doors, open portals between realities. And her grief was so strong that something came through and took the form of her son in his image. And she was so ecstatic to see him, in spite of knowing that he was dead, that she just didn't care. And one day she, in fact, walked in on him killing someone, and she was so shocked and freaked out. But as the thing retakes, is all gory, but it settles down into her son's form, all bloody and stuff, and just is like, "It's still me, mommy." But you hear it in two different vocal tones, right? The kid's tone and then a crazy deep tone. "It's still me, mommy." And she's like, "So I just decided that, whatever he needs to keep him around." So basically she feeds these tenants as souls to this thing to keep her son around her, even though she knows it's not her son. And that's where it ends. So that is the idea.
Nice.
So let's do the voting. So pitch number 3, and this is paranormal themed. And yours is The Landlord or In His Image. All right, guys. So what did you all think of the ideas? I like The Landlord. I thought that was, I feels, it's not quite like other stuff we've seen before, but it's not far away from some of the other stuff we've seen before, But it seems like a nice, well-contained little. It was funny as you were talking. I'm like, has to do with the dead son. I was like, oh, that's not far off of my pitch actually, in a single sort of contained area. That's kind of not far off my pitch either. So it's going to be interesting to see what people think. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to go with an idea where it's a paranormal, it's an evil spirit, an evil entity that is being allowed to exist here just because of someone's grief. And I thought that was kind of a powerful, interesting way to go with it, because you can have some hard-hitting scenes in that idea while still having some horrifying things happen along the way. And at the end, I didn't know whether, the young woman would, best the older woman and end up destroying the thing, or if she would end up being just another in a long line of this continued sacrifice situation. But yeah, I don't know. I thought I always try and tie emotional stuff into my stories if I can, because that's where I think that's where the hooks dig into people, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like the emotional aspect was the son. Not only do the parents lose the son in the movie, we also get that chance to lose the son because we thought he was real for half the movie, and in actual fact he's not real. So all the interactions that we are seeing with the son, for that all gets taken away from us as the audience as well, to find out, oh, he's actually not alive, so he's not going to get the chance to be alive, to be happy that this family is going to solve a crime, because the crime is based on him. Mm-hmm. And even before we started the pitch, I did say, it's hard to make a completely different ghost movie, and we've proved that together, because the start of each of our stories and the spine of our stories are almost identical. They're very similar. You got a landlord and a house and a B&B. It's all the similarities are there. It's only when you break it down at the very end that's when you start to spray off into other realms. Mm-hmm. I think mine was going towards the more grounded. Obviously, no ghost story is grounded, but more grounded aspect where it's just trying to solve a murder, but the same kind of style and cinematography as The House of the Devil from 2009. That's the kind of low-key aspect I was going for all the way through the movie. And it's hard to try and do a ghost story with a good twist, because you've got The Sixth Sense where we find out he's a ghost, but then you've also got the others where it's flipped it around and the ghosts are the main characters and not the real people. So it's hard to try and do something similar without copying it. So I tried to give a little bit of a teaser of that kind of thing, but make it my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the route I went down.
Yeah, and I just thought, it's always interesting to me when people are willfully helping evil entities for whatever reason, but especially if it's if it's out of grief, if it's just out of someone not being able to handle the sadness of something, and so they break and give in. And if it gives you that, if seeing her son gives her that dopamine of like, oh, he's still here, I still get to see him, even though I know what it actually is doing in the background. It would, like me, if something like that happened to my son and he started showing up walking around and I was still able to see him and interact with him and stuff, as long as I let him do terrible shit, I don't know. I would like to say that I would not let him do terrible shit, but if I had seriously just lost him, I don't know what I would do, because the thought of that is terrifying to me.
Yeah, it's like being willfully selfish, and you've got a good excuse for it. It's kind of like Pet Cemetery. You know, your child dies, and although you know bad things are going to happen when you bring them back, it's just to see them again. Obviously, touch wood, nothing like that ever happens, but it's seeing a chance to see your child interact with you again is something that you would do anything for, even if it's being selfish and it causes pain and death in other people. As long as it's not affecting you, it seems like that willful selfishness that you would accept in a horror movie, at least. So I like that aspect of your story.
Thank you. Guys, we still only have 5 votes, and it's literally 3-2 right now. So technically the landlord is ahead by 1 vote, but it's 60% because we've only got 5 votes. Yeah, stop it right now. We've got 5 of our 13 people. We should be able to get a few more votes at least. Again, the landlord is Barry's idea. In his image is my idea. Again, it is interesting how both of them have similar setups and spines, like you said, with the landlords of both buildings being the one you have to watch out for various reasons. It's just, you know, a matter of the rest of it. How does everyone feel about the rest of the stories? Yeah. Movie Mike says, come on folks, we need some votes. I agree. we had like 15 votes on everything else, and now we got 6. It tied it up. 6 votes.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe people just can't vote because they don't want to see any of them lose.
Yeah, that's what it is. They want to. If that was the case, they'd keep it at 50% the whole way. Now it's at 8 votes with 50-50. So we're getting some votes coming in. Will I win my first elevator pitch? I don't know. No, the landlord just pulled ahead with 9 votes. We got 1 vote ahead of me there. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get up to like 12 votes again, at least. 5 votes and 14 people watching. Come on, hookers, says Robert.
Oh, you got another vote?
Relax and unwind, says just voted. All right, thank you very much, guys. We're at 50-50 with 10 votes. What's the tiebreaker gonna be? Is Barry gonna walk away with Hellevator Pitch Part 3? Oh wait, let me change this. Oh no, we're still in the 3rd pre-prepared pitch. I gotta be ready to go to the other thing now. Okay, there we go. In his image pulled up with 1 vote. So it's 11 votes. I'm ahead by 1. 2 votes.
Guys.
Just pulled ahead. 2 votes ahead. 58% on 12. We got 12 people watching, but I'm still going to give it another minute or 2 because it is the last one here. I want to make sure it's fair. But yeah, how weird is it that we both landed so close to each other when we had the entire paranormal pool to play in?
Yeah. Again, it's the same setting, like you said, the kind of B&B landlord aspect. I think that makes for a good spooky story, though. You know, having that spooky landlord or a creepy person that's been living there for years, and then you can build on your story from there. I think that's a good basis for a ghost/paranormal movie.
I agree, yeah, because they're bound to have secrets and stuff like that, and it's just a matter of discovering them and all that. Looks like at 13 votes, Cecil's alternate accounts are now voting. Nope, my hands are up. I haven't been doing anything. This is all on the up and up. Look, I would have tweaked the last couple if I cared that much about winning. I lost twice in a row already, so. All right, so we'll give it another minute. It says 8 minutes ago. When it says 9 minutes ago, I will close it down. But with 13 votes, it looks like mine is going to take it. But you never know. There's always a chance for a flip-flop here. Let's see. So, 75%. Oh, sorry. My internet provider is letting me know I've used up 75% of my allotted amount this month so far.
On your phone or your laptop?
No, everything.
All right.
Yeah, because I'm on. Oh no, I guess. Yeah. No, it's my Verizon. It's just my phone. Shit, you're right. I didn't even put that together because I'm on my computer but looking at my phone. Dice Roland says landlords are always spooky, paranormal or not. True enough. Ooh, excuse me. God, that was very rude. Oh, pardon me. Good Lord.
Vote. Take a vote away from that.
Yeah.
So
everyone's like, ooh, he's so rude. Crude. I'm not voting for that. I don't know. So while we're giving them this last bit of time, what did you think about this process, Barry? How did you enjoy coming up with the ideas and presenting it? It's nerve-wracking at first, but as you get going, what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. You know, I thought being put under pressure, especially with the audience one. But I think if you, like you do with the other ones, if you're only getting given 5 minutes to think of a story, think of a basis and then, branch out with that. And I think if you do that, you can be semi-successful. I don't think my medieval story would win an Oscar or anything, but I think if you made a movie out of that basis, you could probably make a decent movie out of everything that we've done. The 6 stories that we've told between us. I think you could easily make a good movie out of any of those.
That's one of the things I've loved about this show, is that at the end of every episode, there's always at least one idea that I genuinely want to sit down and write all the way through. I still really want to write my Halloween creature story from the first episode, because I love that idea so much. But it's fun when you get to exercise the creativity. An idea a day keeps the Alzheimer's away, I like to say.
Absolutely, yeah. That keeps your mind going.
Exactly. So, Dice says, Cecil belts in our faces. I refuse to vote in his favor. Yep. Mm-hmm. So sorry, Dice. So sorry. I didn't realize you were so... Oh, someone changed their vote. Oh, no. 14 votes now, but still 57% for me and 43% for you. So I think that's basically a two-vote win out of 14. But Are you okay to call it there?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So I guess let me mark up the last point, just because I haven't been able to do this before. Woohoo! Cecil 2, Barry 1. I got to win one. Yay! So that is crowning the winner and the wrap up. So that is going to do it for Hellevator Pitch, you guys. Thank you very much for stopping by. We greatly appreciate all of you that watched even on a Thursday. And all of you that watch down the line, make sure you let us know in the comments, if you're watching this later, what you thought of each of the pitches, if you're so inclined, who you thought ultimately won. If we're only 2 votes away on this one, then if everyone else is like, no, the landlord in the comments, then Barry, that you actually won, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So thank you, Barry, very much for coming on to do this. I greatly appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. Again, it's an honour for coming on. And I couldn't have lost to a more worthy winner. I liked all your stories. They were really interesting. It'd be different if if I had your stories in my head thinking that was rubbish and you still win, I would have hated it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that your stories were really good and really well thought out, then I don't mind losing to those.
I appreciate that. And that's kind of how I feel too. And if you had taken this, I wouldn't have blamed the audience, because you had some strong stories as well. I think you definitely blew me away on the medieval one. That, I swear to God, I looked up at 2.5 minutes out of the 5 minutes down, and I'm like, I still don't have shit. Like, I'm still like, I don't think anything came into my head until the last minute of that. So, yeah, good. Well, I mean, but there you go. That's all part of the talent. Right? It's not just coming up with a good idea. It's being able to do it in a quick way like you did. Yeah. So that's definitely a feather in your cap, I think. So guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to Barry down in the Wolfman's Guide. I have it in the description box, I believe. If I don't, I'm a very bad host. Oh, no, it's there. Yep. So subscribe to Wolfman's Got Nards down in that link in the description box. He covers all kinds of horror stuff. Definitely you'll get your Halloween fix from him. But he covers a lot of stuff. You're getting into the Scream stuff now too, right? Because of the movie coming out.
Yeah, I've got Scream content up until February scheduled, so it's rolling out every now and again, every couple of days. So look out for that if you're a fan of Scream. I actually I know more about Scream than I do Halloween. I just haven't spoken about Scream a lot because there's been that 11-year gap between Scream 4 and Scream 5, so there's not much to talk about apart from the TV shows for Scream. So the more Scream movies that come out, hopefully, the more we can discuss Scream and obviously other not other genres, but other franchises as well.
Do you think that they're going to use this as a launching point to keep the movies going again, or do you think this is going to be a one-off?
No, it's 100%. I think if this movie makes money and if it's well received, or if it's both, makes money and is well received, I think we'll see a new trilogy for definite.
So, I mean, when you use other examples that we've gotten this year, like Candyman, I don't think that's going to justify any sequels based on what happened with that. You just think Scream's going to have a better reception than Candyman did?
Yeah, I mean, I have this debate with a lot of people. Candyman, it's nowhere near the level of Scream and Halloween, etc. And I have this debate with people all the time about which is the bigger franchise. Is it Halloween or is it Scream? And everything for me points to Scream. Scream making the most money, even when you adjust for box office from 96 to 2021, Halloween from 1978 to 2021. Scream wins every time. And there's only been four Scream movies, and it's made a lot of money. I think it was an average of $150 million for a Scream movie, whereas at Halloween it's an average of like 60 odd $1 million or $57 million or something like that for a Halloween movie. So judging on those numbers, Scream is the more popular movie. I think it's more thanks to international box office, because Halloween doesn't ever do so well at the international box office, apart from 2018 and a little bit of Halloween Kills. But I think internationally, Scream, which means worldwide, Scream is the more favourable franchise. So I think if it is successful, then we will for definite see more Scream movies. But I know that Scream 4 wasn't a major success. I think it made like $55 million or something in the US, which is poor for a Scream movie, especially when the budget was like 40 million. So yeah, I think if it makes money more than Scream 4, I think we will see more Scream movies in the future.
And if I had to put you on a desert island for the rest of your life, and you could only take the first Scream or the first Halloween, which would you take?
I'd say Scream.
Yeah, I would too.
I'd say Halloween is the better movie, and if I had to rate one or the other, Halloween would be the better movie. But I think Scream is the more rewatchable movie out of both of them. I think Halloween's a lot more serious, whereas Scream, you can have fun with Scream as well as have a good time.
I agree with that. I actually agree with that assessment wholeheartedly. So thank you very much for joining me, Barry. I greatly appreciate it. We should do this again sometime, and maybe just chat horror at some point.
Absolutely, yeah. I could talk horror all day, all long.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching once again, and thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. The link to that is in the description box as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss other future episodes of Hellevator Pitch. I'm planning to do January with Chauncey K. Robinson. That's the current goal. So she's another YouTuber, the Twisted Girl Next Door, I believe, or Twisted Woman Next Door, I think is what she is now. I think I want to make sure I get her channel right. I'll make sure it's all correct on her episode of the show. But that's who's coming next. And then Confused Reviews will be on. And then a couple of people beyond that. I believe Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews said he's down to do it as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing other YouTubers and maybe sprinkling in some filmmakers along the way as well. So thank you once again, and until next time, I've been Cecil Laird. That is Barry from WOLFMAN'S GOT NARDS. Make sure you subscribe down below, and remember guys, stay scared.